Welcome, guys. Welcome to yet another episode of Upskill Club Season 3. I guess this is episode number 6. Today we have one more person who has joined us in our past sessions. I guess Saurav is the constant. Saurav is the guiding light and the constant. And Aman is also here with to give us some youthful exuberance. And so let's so let's start with today's topic. Today's topic is actually how do we design a news feed? We all consume social media, correct? I hope Saurabh only consumes LinkedIn. I know Saurabh is so sincere. Aman has the traditional ways, and I guess some of the non-traditional ways also of scrolling. But that's about it. We all scroll. If you have to quantify, we all scroll. Oh, that's a punchline. I should that should be a T-shirt, I guess. So we all scroll. It's and we are all bombarded with news posts and let's say continuously. So today what we'll simply do is let's take a step back and think how this system is working. If you all remember when Facebook launched its timeline feature, when Facebook was the constant, it had a huge uproar across the world, and everybody was like, this is shit. And eventually it becomes a norm, and that is what and this norm is what made Sheryl Sandberg so rich. So because it was her idea. So that's about it. Based upon the backstory. Then let's deep dive. Newsfeed can be anything. It can be a feed of non of feed of the work related posts that we scroll through LinkedIn now these days. It can be pure images that we can scroll on Instagram. It can be I don't think so if you guys use Facebook, but if some people still use Facebook, some billion of them. The thing that they see on Facebook, anything which is endless and just you can see posts from your let's say friends, family, and celebrities. Cool. That's the base. In our design, we'll always talk about the requirements. So what is the our requirement? Our system should work for mobile and web. Okay. And when a user publishes a post, it should be visible on his or her friends timelines or let's say newsfeed. The feed should be simply sorted by reverse chronological order. A user can at max, in terms of scale, a user should have at least or can at max have 5,000 friends. The platform should able the design should be able to support 10 million daily active users, and feed can contain multiple form of media. So this is the base requirement of the design that whatever you propose or the author propose should work for. So what author has done is, in order to solve the newsfeed problem, he says we should be thinking it as two subset of problems, not one. First is publishing the feed. Okay. So what does that means is whenever a user publishes a post, corresponding data should be written somewhere. It can be cache or it can be a database, and post should be visible to his or her friend whenever they see their timelines. Okay, that is problem number one. Problem number two is newsfeed building. Even before for somebody to see a timeline, it should exist as an entity, right? So that is one of the ways. Whenever I'm as a user, I want to see a lot of posts from all the people I follow or my friends or my family. There should be an entity which stores these posts. So that is one. So how do you fan out a request per se and update existing entities which are timelines or news post or let's say anything else, and how do you build them? So this is how he has segregated the entire problem into two subsets. He says, okay, that's about it. So in order to do that, you simply need two APIs. One is a post API, which says, hey, I want to post something. You have content, you have auth token, you get authorized and all that. And then there is newsfeed retrieval. So in one API, you're posting out something, an image, an audio file, in a PDF, anything else. And in one API, you're simply consuming it. So that's about it. Okay. In order to publish a post, this is the overall architecture the author suggests. One is key, hey, you received a request from mobile or let's say your desktop, and that request was received on your backend server, and your load balancer simply routes that to your corresponding web servers. In your web servers, you have multiple services, internal services. One is post based upon the problem number one. Second is fan out service, and third is notification service, which is hooked through post internally. As you can see, a post should have a post cache and fan out service should have news feed cache, and post should be then inserted into DBs and all that. So this is the top level architecture that he suggests for the entire system. Okay. In terms of behavior, as I said earlier, load balance user will make a request. Load balancer will distribute the traffic to web servers. Post service will persists the post firstly in its top level cache, then it will write it in the actual database. Fan out service will push the news feed concurrently to the people who are trying to see their feeds. And it also has a cache so that the retrieval is fast. And notification service is very simple. Whenever a post happen, it will consume notification service to notify people in a async format so that hey, your feed is updated. Cool. Any questions till now, Saurav or Raman? Correct.
This is the
This
one
is I
of the
guess
approach, or this is the only the approach.
this is one of the approaches. There can be multiple. You can merge them and all that. This is one of the approaches that author has suggested.
Got it. Yeah, understood.
Okay. As I said, the second part of the problem is, hey, first problem is how do you build the post? Correct. So you need to build the post first. So this is a subset of the architecture that we seen earlier. So it's nothing new. A user makes the request, it is received on load balancer. A web server, let's say, receives it. It gives it out to news service. News service has, let's say, newsfeed service has the cache, and it returns back from the newsfeed cache. This is where, and this is a deep dive now. Now let us deep dive into the diagram. It'll take a couple of minutes so that you can consume the diagram so that we can discuss further. Sort of, you can give your commentary, whatever you understand from the diagram.
Uh, I think the first point of contact from load balancer is obviously your gateways where authentication and rate limiting is happening. Then there are a bunch of services which are there. Post, we won't do post and notification. I think the focus area right now is fan out. So in fan out service, let's say once a user posts something, first of all, you need to figure out all the friends of that user. And those friends might not just be the first level circle, it might be the second level circle also. So depending on that, I think that's why they are using a graph-based database, because it's better for such uh,
Connections.
second degree, third degree relations. If you do it in a normal SQL or a Mongo world, you'll it would be very complicated. You can do it, but it would require either a lot of queries and a compute time in same way, or you denormalize and store in a complicated format. So then once you have figured out all the friend IDs, then it's trying to fetch friends data. Uh, Not sure what would it need. Maybe other than IDs, I suppose it would be uh, maybe we can figure it out later, but didn't understand what else would you need for the user. Then there are basically message queues to make it an asynchronous flow, so that you can basically have multiple consumers and each working on a particular partition to do their job. Then there are fan out workers, which are basically just the consumers. And for each user, then it's populating the newsfeed cache. I think for the friends ID you fetched from the fan out service, it is going to populate cache for each of them using this fan out worker. I guess that's what is
And I
happening.
think the retrieving API will use this newsfeed cache, maybe.
Yes, the
Yes.
retrieving API will directly hit this new feed cache.
So this means retrieval is not directly linked with a post updation. So there
Yeah,
will always be a state which can be, let's say, a time bound state of a user feeds, which will be fetched based upon what is the last available state, and it gets updated in the background through the fan out service and all these mechanisms whenever a post comes in.
So
Correct.
how will the newsfeed cache? How will the user retrieve API? Matlab, does it needs a user action? There's something a timer which just take out the data from the newsfeed cache and just append in the user's timeline. So there will be a polling mechanism over there, right?
So we'll discuss about it. We'll discuss about it next. The only thing that author didn't discuss it when I was reading this is how does an information in a very large system, the cache will also be distributed. Okay. cache will also be distributed. Example, at Twitter scale, the cache will be distributed. So even if you update something in a cache A, example of it is, if and this is especially true for the big people, which is who have millions of users, and they update it. So user cache is locally cached, let's say, for various of users in some X location and Y location. So how the copies of these cache, these guys maintain copies of your profile. It's not just one in cache. It's not like just they just only maintain one copy of a user feed. They maintain multiple copies. So yeah, through all this work, if one of those copies gets updated, there's something called as gossip protocol, which is standard. The gossip protocol works and it updates the cache internally also in async format. So that is one thing that author has not discussed, apart from how the caches are working. Okay, so this is so based upon whatever discussion that we have, let's try to deep dive. As Saurabh has already mentioned, gateway is used for authentication and rate limiting, and user who have a valid auth token will be allowed to make a post. Okay, and system will have
So
all the understanding and limitations here only. If somebody is trying to bombard the system and all that, is all everything is handled at gateway level. Okay, like something like we also do at urban company. Then comes the actual fan out service. As you mentioned, Aman, earlier, there are two types of mechanism actually which are recommended to fan out. First is fan out on write, and second is fan out on read. What this means, in fan out on write, a news feed is pre-computed during write time. Okay, so a news post, whenever let's say everything is cached, everybody has its own copy of timeline maintained as a cache. Assume that. Okay, and the moment let's say somebody makes a post in your entire network, your feed will get updated. That is fan out on write. Okay, the moment I write a post, it needs to be fanned out, and all the subsequent newsfeed cache of people who follow me needs to be updated. Okay, so there are some pros about it. Pros is a news feed is generated in real time, and it can be generated, published to its friends immediately. Fetching near newsfeed is fast because your entire newsfeed is pre-computed. Correct. You don't have to go to database almost ever unless your cache system is down. Then the cons are also there. If a user has many friends, many friends, and fetching the example, some not friend, like somebody like Cristiano Ronaldo on Instagram. Okay, he's followed by 400 million people, and he makes a post almost a week. Imagine, in order to update that post, you need to go to 400 million people, and you need to update their entire caches, even though if they are not looking on those cache or not using the system right now. And this will also this entire query of getting 400 million records even in a graph system will put decent amount of load on a system. So there's Cristiano Ronaldo's, Donald Trump, and these guys are actually the hotkeys. This is called as a hotkey problem. Some of the users, the people who have who follow them, the operation, even the simple operation that they do will put so much, let's say effort on our system that they become the hotkey problem. If they make 10 requests, imagine Instagram this, Cristiano goes nuts and simply goes on a post speeding post let's say sending out post spree, and he just he writes somebody writes a uh, let's say let's say a Python script and just posts out messages from Krishna's profile. Entire Instagram can go down, correct? If everything is becomputed. That's because just getting those information will take so much time. And as I said earlier, even though you are doing in the good cause, there will be a lot of inactive users. Same for Cristiano. Even of 400 million people will not be using the Instagram right now when he has posted. So you would waste good amount of resource, companies resource, just updating let's say information which is not needed at that time. Cool. So then there is fan out on read. Fan out on read is very simple. It is like pull to refresh. You pull to you refresh your feed, and it's an on-demand model. You get your feed computed right then, right now, and it is very good for inactive users, because if the user is not active, he'll not be, let's say, asking you for, hey, give me my feed. So there is no problem. And data is not pushed to friends. It is subsequently collected, so there is never a hotkey problem for all the users, because
uh,
it will system will identify, hey, acha, you follow Cristiano, I'll go to his profile, acha, he has posted, what is the reverse chronological order, and simply compute the post. So this mechanism happening every single time. Okay, so it works, but it doesn't works for the entire mechanism is slow. And if we have learned from social media is it has to be fast. It has to be fast. It's not a solution for them, very simply put.
So
Okay.
what is
Huh.
the difference? Basically, main difference is the in the fan out on rate we utilize the cache because the fan out service will update your cache every time when there's a write happen. But on fan out or rate, you will use the Cristiano Ronaldo cache, right? Which he has updated, or
No, no.
which
In find out on read, you find out on read is basically Krishna already posted, correct? And it is stored in database or somewhere else, correct? So you go in your profile. Hey, I am Aman. How many people do I follow? I go to all of them and I use their ID to see if they have posted anything in, let's say, the post table. I sort them in a reverse chronological order, create a feed for for you as a user, and then return it back to you.
got it. So there's the cache
There's
updating
no cache.
mechanism which
There is no
there's
cache.
no cache. That's I think there's
There's
no
no
racing
cache.
mechanism which is
So it,
got
it works well when you have 10 users. It doesn't works well when you have scale.
got it.
Fair enough. So as you can see, both approaches will not work. First one will have a hotkey problem. Second one will be simply be slow. So what author has suggested, every social media actually let's say uses a hybrid approach, where they both use the fan out on read and fan out on write. Um, so because news fetching the news fast is crucial, the push model is predominantly used for majority of the users. Okay. For celebrities or user who have many friends and followers, they let the followers pull the content on demand to avoid system overload. Which is, hey, even if you follow, so what happens is, let's say Cristiano's posted something and we all three follow. So we will see that the order, and even if you follow Cristiano and we all three follow the same set of people, because Cristiano will become a hotkey, we will fetch them independently whenever we use our systems, whenever we make a request. And the query to, hey, has Cristiano posted something? What is his chronological order and how does he sits in my news feed happens for these hotkeys in the pull based manners, not in the push based manner. This is clear. Any questions till now, Saurabh? No. And we learned in our one of our older session was how to use consistent hashing just to distribute the data queries evenly. So this is the new architecture now.
So how hotkey, how there's some parameter on the followers, right? So for the hotkey
This is
become a
those are very subjective. You can have 10, you can have 10 million. Those will be system the people who are taking care of their platforms. Those are the people who will be taking this call.
got it.
So there's no standard answer. Okay, but in my opinion, somebody who crosses a million follower will become a hotkey.
Got it.
Cool. So this is the new system. You get the friend's ID. You get your friend's data. You. There is a message queue which is continuously updating it. There are fan out workers and that is there. And in terms of steps, let's have a look. Uh, sort of has covered it somewhat. Graph databases are used because they're faster to fetch information. You get user friends info. This is where sort of has a question. System then filters are based upon settings. Example, you need friends information because you will apply settings. Hey, I don't want this story to be published to my mom because I am in Andaman and let's say roaming around with fishes. Correct. So you don't want your mom to see that, even though your mom follows you or and you follow her. I'm just kidding. And that is a real problem. And in case it hasn't happened to you, you will face that in your life soon. And so that will happen. And other things also, they have muted you, you have muted them, correct? They have not blocked you, but they have those kind of settings are there, and it varies platform to platform. You have muted them for 24 hours and all that. So you would need those setting level information. So that is why you need the friends information.
Got it.
This is clear. An example that those guys would have, okay, I don't want to see sensitive content and your content classifies as sensitive, all those liberalism will happen. So okay, so that's about it. Then you will send when you have a friends list and you get the new post ID, you simply send that to message queue. This is the interesting part. Fan out workers fetch data from the message queue. and store newsfeed data in the newsfeed cache. So this is, you have posted, you have got the information, and then you post, "Okay, hey, I just want to update 10 of my friends," correct? And you add all those as update information in your message queue. Find out workers will pick them one by one. And the newsfeed cache, which is there right now, in newsfeed cache, which is there, you don't need much, lot of information as per author. It's simply post ID, user ID table to be consumed. And you simply have a post and you simply have a user ID. Whenever new post is made, it will be appended to the newsfeed table, as you can see here. This is a table, news post ID, user ID, and you simply append it to this table. Okay. Yeah, because if you store entire feeds and users information, your memory size will bloat, and you simply use, that's why you don't even store post information. You store it independently. When the post is happening, the post is stored. If you see our diagram again, the post service will post in post db independently. This job will segregate and it will post here. It will save it. Here you will simply have post ID in your message queues for find out workers to update.
Yes. And I think that's why the author is also caching the post, because
Yes,
you would
so
have to
that you can fetch it easily also.
Where it does it happen? The first step
Huh.
would be, I think, to post DB, post inserting, then you get a post ID, right?
So what that author might have maintained through transition and all that. He hasn't gone deep in there. It's simply in terms of, hey, whenever you actually post something, it needs to be stored as an independent, let's say, entry in the post cache in the post db, and it is stored, and you get the post ID. Then you start the fan out information, and in the entire operation, you're not sending any post information. You're simply sending the IDs.
So what's the use of post cache? Does it use for the hotkey problems, right? For
No,
the
no,
hotkeys you
because
just
when
use.
you're trying to update news feed cache, na, you would need the entire post information, correct? You would need the image, you would need the like count,
Okay,
you
got
would
it,
need
got it, got
everything.
it, got
So
it,
you
got
would
it,
need
got it.
that object. But if you keep sending this entire information, the system will get overloaded in terms of the amount of data they are simply transferring, which is of no use. So it simply
Got
sends
it,
the post ID to be updated in the message queue, and you fetch the post from the post cache. While
got it,
before you want to update the news feed cache for the user.
got it. That's a synchronous flow, right? First the post request DB will happen, then post that you will
Then
update
only
the
find
news
out can happen for
can
let's say.
happen for a
But
request.
those
Yes.
are two internal services. So you complete your job and you fire a new event for the find out service to
Second
update,
service.
find out
Got
service
it,
to find out.
got it.
Fair enough. So, and as you can see, uh, you might have seen Instagram continuously communicates to us, hey, you have seen whatever you wanted to. You have already seen everything new, correct? And everybody does that. You're already seen. They're not only doing this for digital wellness, as they say. This is also to save them decent amount of cost, because if you don't and you keep endlessly scrolling and they don't build this behavior, they would need to maintain very huge news feeds, correct? And that will account to decent amount of data cost for them. So they try to play on the okay, some people will scroll, some people will not scroll, that there will be cache misses and we'll need to fetch the information. So those kind of things happen. The author has not got very into deep, but in terms of concept we understand now. There, it's not just digital whelming, it's just that it's also that it will amount to good amount of data cost for them. Okay. um and the entire newsfeed cache, if you can see, is simply post ID, user ID. Entire newsfeed cache is post ID, user ID. They are not storing object. When you are actually trying to get it, they will simply go to post, get the information, do the hydration, and then revert it back in form of one big list. This is clear. So Aman, you I don't think so you are convinced till now. Aman, I'm not able
Oh,
to
sorry. Okay, so that will be a like if you say that will be for a user. So there's also some logic now for how many requests you just hit the post request ecosystem, right? You because that's an HTTP call, right? Over there from the ID and post user ID and user ID, you just need a post information. So there's also that you have to do in a synchronous manner again, right? So what is if you have a post ID, right? I'm just saying you have a post ID. You need to hit that DB, right? You need to hit that DB. So what is the use? Only just I'm thinking that can it be? optimize, or is there some also being a, you can say, logic over there that you just hit or take the 5 posts or 10 posts ID?
So yeah,
Okay.
firstly, it won't hit the database, it would hit the cache. So they would have saved for that. And also, as you're saying, they would be fetching it smartly, like maybe
So
depending
we'll
on
deep dive
how
into
you.
news retrieval next, na.
Hmm.
Let's deep
Okay.
dive into news
Okay.
retrieval. This
Okay. Okay.
was
Got it.
news publishing. This was simply publishing. Let's deep dive into, now trying to discuss news retrieval only. So let's discuss that. So this is the top level architecture that author has suggested. This is same. The earlier part is same, and there is a CDN server because CDN is used to deliver the content fast. Now this is newsfeed service. Newsfeed service has the third option is when you arrive at newsfeed service, let me at it. So a user will simply send a request to, hey, I just want to get my see my feed. Okay. Load balancer, you get that request and forward to corresponding web server, and the authentication, rate limiting, and everything will be checked there. After that request is passed, it will arrive at newsfeed service. Okay. Newsfeed service will get a list of post IDs from the newsfeed cache. You have maintained newsfeed cache, right, for the user. Correct. This is what we are maintaining here in newsfeed cache. Post ID and user ID. The newsfeed service will get list of post IDs from the newsfeed cache for that user. Correct. Now, a user newsfeed is more than just a list of feed IDs. It contains profile information, image, and all that. Correct. Correct. So this user the first order of resolution is from post cache. Hey, I just want whatever information do you have in detail from post cache. It will query post cache. That is step number. That is the next step. And it will also have the URLs of the media that you will want to consume before hydration is completed, because those are independent async calls. When you understand how URLs are resolved, you simply give a URL name and that is returned back to the user. Once user, which is mobile, a client, Android or iOS, or let's say web, they make independent calls on this URL to populate the media. Okay, so you don't need to revert back with videos, entire videos, or let's say you simply need to return back URL. So everything which is relevant for that post is there in post cache. Fair enough. And the hydrated, let's say, and the hydration is done. Hydration is basically whatever presentation logic that you have. Example for us, we transform the information in standard screen response. Same format of transformation might happen for various other. Instagram might have another, Twitter might have another. So they do that. Once that is done, a simple JSON list is returned back for client to consume. Any questions, Aman?
Not yet.
So this is clear how what is happening. Now we can discuss your optimization part. Whatever is your mind, you can go ahead and ask. Now we have almost discussed whatever author wanted to communicate.
All right. So, how you are updating that data in cache means, if there's a data, then there more data came. You need to actually discard some of the data, right? But that may will be the relevant because you say from here you were just consuming request IDs from your cache.
Acha nahi, so you're confusing uh, this cache from the Redis cache per se, which is trying to cache operation. The user cache is basically list of whatever things are relevant in terms of post for every user. They make it for every single user, irrespective of 400 or 1.5 billion people they have. This cache will exist for every user. They can have inter optimization for, hey, these people are not using it, I haven't used the platform for 6 months, let's not pay the data cost, and let the pull mechanism happen for these guys. Those kind of things they will obviously do, but this user level cache is maintained for every single user all the time.
So there is some constraint on this cache, ki how many data you will definitely update it. If I have
For user cache, they're not maintaining anything very heavy now. They're simply maintaining the list of post IDs.
got it.
For you there is an array, a simple array. For every user there's an array which has a post id, and the order that they wanted to insert, that's it.
Got it.
And when you are trying to fetch it in pull based mechanism, then only they are resolving all the post from the relevant post cache has the entire object that whenever you or somebody else posted in form of JSON or XML, whatever they have stored in format of.
Got it.
Cool.
Definitely cool.
So is not just the news feed or the things that they cache decent amount of other things also, because we have discussed only oversimplified would be the right word, oversimplified way of creating a news feed. This was a very oversimplified way. We can have, I guess we have time, we can watch a video also after this. But we have discussed very good. They do create caches for a lot of other things also. In social graph there is followers and following, they do cache that also. In terms of action, so that you can get this value, who is liking what, who has replied what. We haven't even discussed the comment section. If you remember, there is a huge comment section also, right? That in order to, let's say, for a feed that happens, then there are counters also. What is the like counter, reply counter, all these are also maintained as independent caches. Okay, so newsfeed is simply maintaining the post that you wanted to see. Content is maintaining the CDN URLs of the let's say of the content media that you want to consume. Social graph is storing the relationship of users, and action is storing how you have interacted with the system, and counter is simply storing the exact value that you have interacted with. Cool. And the author has let's say collected all this information from, this is open information only, from how Facebook goes about it. Cool. I guess that's it for this session. Question, any questions? We can have, we can have a look at one more. This is a very no, this is a long video. We need to have a 10-minute video. Any questions from Saurav or Raman?
Not right now.
No,
But yeah, that's one great you can say session we can have on cache maintenance that you said. How you manage a distributed cache for each user, right? So that's a good topic to discuss as well.
So all the videos are long actually. So you have decent amount of
there's no
resource.
shortcut.
There is no shortcut to design a news feed. So I don't think the Saurav is happy in terms of the amount of async we discussed here.
No, no, that's fine. I was surprised by initially like how much caching is used here at what all level, even likes,
Yes,
like they are just avoiding hitting database altogether.
altogether,
Still,
whatever way.
still.
And for me, the learning was how they very simple design, simplest format. You don't need to store very much of the thing. You simply store an array of post ID. Very simple learning,
Hmm.
and you just maintain a very good cache for post. That's
Yeah,
it. You don't need to, let's say, have a very complex algorithm. So this was a nice learning.
multiple levels of cache. But
Huh.
yeah, Aman, what you are perhaps asking is how are they storing it at so much scale, cache?
That's the main point now, because there's some policies also on cache, update policies, reading policies, discard policies. So and but that's the same again point कि अब इतनी बड़ी cache को आप manage कैसे कर रहे हो, उसमें एक system अलग है, इधर से दोनों shared है ताकि replicacy factor, but still इधर कुछ update हुआ या replicate हुआ तो
हाँ, तो as I mentioned earlier, na, author has not discussed it. Let me show you the gossip protocol.
And Aman, in के use case में even consistency doesn't matter. They are
हाँ, it
solving
doesn't
for
matter.
availability and performance.
हाँ, because even consistency, so all the like and the
They're happy with if let's say there's a lag in things being updated as long as you are available and you're quick. That's what they need.
Example, let's say somebody makes a new post, right? And people do start liking it. They get a push in terms of likes, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, "Hari naya post aaya," just like it. We have that behavior. But the counter that you might be seeing might be different from the counter that I might be seeing, and counter from the original post author might be seeing.
Mhm.
And that's okay, because we don't care.
Yeah,
Eventually, after a couple of minutes, the counter will stabilize and we'll all see the same number.
eventually it will be consistent.
So that's why it's okay. Availability, but availability is of the top priority in these design. Hence, they cache, as you've seen earlier, they cache every single thing. What you have liked, what you have not liked, its values, everything. Even your social graph is cached.
And they would be spending a lot of money on those caches, like there's
Yes.
tons of data being cached.
Nice.
Cool. In case Aman has no caching question, thanks guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
Sure.